The Nevado del Ruiz, also known as La Mesa de Herveo, is a volcano located on the border of the department or regions of Caldas and Tolima in Colombia. They lie around 129 kilometers or 80 miles west of the capital city of Bogota. Hi, I'm Chris May, host of This Day in Weather History, a podcast from the Weather Network in Canada, and we have a Volcano Day coming up. To say that this event took anyone by surprise would be a slap in the face to volcanology and really just Earth history in general. Volcanic activity at Nevado del Ruiz began about 2 million years ago, since the Early Pleistocene or Late Pliocene era, with 3 major eruptive periods, I might add. So there was already a history here. We pick it up on November 13th of 1985, this day in weather history. This volcano is known as a stratovolcano. This means that the actual composition of the mantle walls is composed of many layers of lava alternating with hardened volcanic ash and other pyroclastic rocks. This results in a much higher viscosity in flow rate. There basically means it just becomes harder faster, so it crusts quicker. This affects the shape of the actual mountain as a result. Unlike shield volcanoes, stratovolcanoes are recognizable by their very steep profile and signature summit crater. It's the one that you normally see in cartoons, as an example. And the current cone for this volcano in Colombia formed during its present eruptive period, and that began 150,000 years ago. This style of volcano usually produces swift-moving currents of hot gas and rock called pyroclastic flows. The impact of an eruption like this is made exponentially worse because the hot gas and lava melt the mountain's snowcap, adding large quantities of water to the flow. Because of the sudden heat and force, these eruptions often trigger massive mud and debris flows. It is common that this is where we find the highest mortality rates in eruption events. It is not, in fact, caused by the earthquake or the lava flow, but by the mud and debris slides that bury whole villages at the base of the mountain. And we saw one of the best-known cases of this in our August 24th episode of This Day in Weather History on the story of Mount Vesuvius from the year 79 AD. The mud and the gas discharge will pose a threat and longer-term impact to human life as well as the Earth's environment. All right, Volcanology 101 class is over. You can close your books. It's time for our story to begin. On November 13th, 1985, this day in weather history, a small eruption produced an enormous landslide that buried and destroyed the town of Armero in Tolima. It became known as the Armero tragedy, the deadliest of its kind in recorded history. It claimed the lives of an estimated 25,000 people. This volcano had been dormant for almost 70 years, so when it blew, it caught everyone by surprise and nearby towns unaware, except the government. They had received warnings 2 months earlier from multiple volcanological organizations to evacuate the area after they detected a resuming of volcanic activity. Plus, this volcano has been here for hundreds of thousands of years, so for my money, if it's still there, then it's still a threat. I live by that credo. Photographs of the mud and landslides that overwhelmed and submerged towns, burying their inhabitants, and the impact of the disaster captured the attention worldwide and led to an international outcry over the degree to which the Colombian government might have been responsible for the disaster. The Nevado del Ruiz is part of the Los Nevados National Natural Park, and it is also home to several other volcanoes. The summit of La Mesa de Herveo is covered by large glaciers. The volcano continues to pose a threat to the nearby towns and villages, and it is estimated that up to 500,000 people could be at risk of future eruptions. Hey, it's like I said just a moment ago. If it's still there, then it's still a threat. This just justifies my point. But things are different now in that today, the Nevado del Ruiz volcano is constantly monitored by the Volcanic and Seismic Observatory in Manizales. But for the people affected, those who lost people, and those who lived to tell the story will never forget the horror and tragedy of that single moment that stopped time and ended normal life for a generation on November 13th of 1985, this day in weather history. Tomorrow is November 14th, and we're looking back to what could have been such an epic disaster that the course of all tech development could have ended before it began. And don't forget that this episode will also have an accompanying podcast video short, and that will be posted tomorrow to all Weather Network social media platforms. You can see it on television. You can also go to our website /weather history to view it there as well. So tomorrow you can hear all about it. This was supposed to be the second moon landing. Be with us tomorrow to find out the rest of the story on this day in weather history with me, your host, Chris May.